Welcome to the Daily Breaking News U2 channel. We have completed the 100th day of Russia's invasion-oriented conflict in Ukraine. Ukraine's valiant troops fought with all their might against the world's second-largest army in order to maintain their motherland, territorial integrity, and independence. Russia failed to fulfill its objectives in Ukraine after 100 days, possibly incurring the worst military defeat in the previous 200 years. Of course, Ukraine's resistance became legendary during this time, and numerous Ukrainian and Western weapons became symbols of this resistance while wreaking havoc on Russian tanks, planes, and ships. Russia, on the other hand, continued to overlook its own casualties and soldiers, declaring that the conflict would not end and that the Russian army would not retreat until the goals in Ukraine were secured. For the time being, the Russian army's visible goals in its effort to invade Ukraine are the Donbas region's Black Sea coast. Russia's arrogant objective is to transform the Black Sea into a Russian lake, and it is invading Ukrainian cities to accomplish this. In the 100-day conflict between Russia and Ukraine, the Black Sea coast appears to be its first aim. The big land operations battle moved to the oceans. Even without a fleet, Ukraine was able to counter the Russian Navy with missile assaults from the ground and the Bayraktar TB2 from the air. However, there has been anxiety about an amphibious attack on Odessa since the beginning of the Ukrainian war. The Russian army, unable to cross through the Mykolaiv region, devised a long-term strategy to land in Odessa, which it could not reach with a land campaign. However, according to a statement published yesterday by the Russian official press outlet from its military resources in Crimea, this major landing has not yet occurred. The Russian Naval Task Force, comprised of 12 huge landing ships operating in the Black Sea, is prepared for the operation. According to the statement, a Russian Navy task force comprised of 6 amphibious assault ships from the Northern and Baltic fleets, as well as 6 amphibious assault ships from the Russian Black Sea Fleet, is ready to conduct combat operations in the Black Sea. It is the first time that such a massive Russian Navy force has been prepared for a Black Sea mission. This generated widespread anxiety in both Ukraine and the West, because the presence of 12 massive Russian landing ship fleets in the Black Sea could only mean one thing: the occupation of Odessa. The Northern Fleet is made up of amphibious assault ships like Pyotr Morganov, Olnogorsky, Gornyak, and Georgy Pobedinetsets. Koral, Yav, Minsk, and Kaliningrad symbolize the Baltic Navy. The ships of the Black Sea Fleet's task force are Navar, Kosk, Azov, Yamal-Orsk, and Nikolai Filchenkov. Each of these ships is capable of carrying out a landing on its own, but combining all 12 of them to carry out a specific operation might be the largest display of power in naval combat history. Although it is unclear what the various planned missions in the explanation signify, it is speculated that this may be an Odessa landing. Ships may launch amphibious assaults, as well as deliver troops, military vehicles, and significant military supplies to the location. This raises the prospect of a landing near Odessa, Ukraine. The Russian Navy attempted this operation in the early days of the occupation, but it was unsuccessful due to the fierce opposition of the Ukrainian Navy. However, if Russia intends to launch a landing strike on Odessa, it must first capture Mykolaiv. Ukraine is well aware of this and has launched an all-out attack on Kherson. It is clear that this landing poses a significant threat to the Russian Navy because amphibious ships are obvious targets, and it is well known that Ukrainian armed forces are waiting on the coast of Odessa with Neptune strike and Harpoon missiles. The Ukrainian armed forces may simply attack these ships as they reach the Odessa shore. Ukrainian missiles showed this capability by sinking the Moskva and other Russian warships in the vicinity of Snake Island. Such an action will not be fully forgotten on Russia's side. Even if Russia feels obligated to carry out this operation, it will be very costly, perilous, and difficult to carry out. To increase the threats, it will aim to totally breach Ukraine's Odessa coast defenses with the conquest of Mykolaiv and the land operation over Mykolaiv. The Russian army, which was considerably stronger and fitter 100 days ago, failed to do so and is unlikely to do so now. Landing ships were also utilized in the siege of Mariupol, as well as landings at the port of Berdyansk. This maritime route proved to be far safer than Russia's land supply routes. The fleet of huge landing ships can transport 4,000 soldiers and around 150 major combat tanks. This refers to a significant military force, and the siege of a city provides a sufficient number to occupy. At the same time, as previously said, the Russian Navy is extremely vulnerable to anti-ship missiles. Since the firing of the Neptune attack missiles, Russian military ships have maintained a safe distance from the shore. The Ukrainian military has also developed and upgraded its anti-ship missile arsenal. Brimstone and Harpoon missiles from the United Kingdom represent far larger threats to the Russian fleet than Neptune missiles. These weapons systems will provide a significant challenge to Russian naval operations in the Black Sea, as well as an impediment that the landing craft force must overcome in order to carry out its planned duties. So, Russian amphibious ships have no way to evade missile attacks. Of course, some safeguards, such as varied motions and electrical systems, can be put in place to avoid being attacked by anti-ship missiles. Simultaneously, ships can be recovered from these missiles by confusing them with decoy signals, point defense systems, and electronic warfare systems. However, all of these defense systems were utilized at Moskva, and none of them functioned because the Ukrainian Navy's Special Marine Forces used not just Neptune missiles, but also Bayraktar TB2, which supplied air, intelligence, and electronic jamming assistance. The Russian Navy can take action against coastal defense systems, but not against Bayraktar TB2, since Bayraktar TB2 can complete successful missions at far higher altitudes than the lasers of Russian electronic systems and air defense systems can. This danger does not appear to be one that can be accepted, and not just missiles, but also the primary barriers to the Russian landing on supposedly discovered mines in the Black Sea. Mines were deployed by both Ukrainian and Russian forces throughout the conflict, and some were even liberated and traveled to the Romanian and Turkish seas. A minefield or threat will increase any fleet's risk assessments and limit feasible movements and maneuvers. Even if Russia attempts to carry out demining operations, this is a time-consuming procedure, and the Russian Navy cannot carry out such an operation while it is within Ukraine's target zone. On the opposite side of the coin, Russia is in a similar situation. The question of how Ukraine will break through the Russian embargo arises. Let's work together to find an answer to this question. Moscow's ultimate objective is to extend Russian territorial sovereignty along the whole northern Black Sea coast, thereby turning a shrinking Ukraine into a landlocked nation. As evidenced by the numerous operations it has carried out, Ukraine is committed to preventing this from happening. Despite Russia's defeats at sea, the blockade of Ukraine remains in place. At the same time, Ukraine's existing stockpile is still insufficient to threaten the Russian fleet deployed at vast distances. The embargo has serious ramifications for the hundreds of millions of people who rely on Ukrainian food for their existence. The embargo imposed by Russia is leading to a possibly catastrophic global food catastrophe. Failure to open these Odessa area ports would be a declaration of war on world food security. The World Food Programme's David Beasley recently briefed the United Nations Security Council. It is not just about Ukraine. It is about the world's poorest of the poor. As we speak, it will undoubtedly be a humanitarian mission to ensure the safe transit of grain-laden cargo ships from Ukraine across the Black Sea. He may believe that Russia has the freedom to choose whether or not to prevent it, but this is not the case. Transfers will take place in international seas and on routes that pass through Ukrainian waters, and if Russia attempts to meddle directly, it must also risk going to war with another country. Russia, on the other hand, did not have such an advantage as an army force. Based on his reaction to Finland and Sweden's NATO application procedures right now, Putin does not want to fight on a new front or with a foreign nation. As a result, it is considerably more probable that the escort ships that will arrive will not confront a Russian strike. Mine-clearing activities will be the only long-term issue here. We hope that the blockade of the Black Sea will be lifted as soon as possible, and that the world will be relieved of a serious food crisis. We hope that a peace deal will be reached, ensuring Ukraine's territorial integrity and freedom so that they can remain healthy, happy, and peaceful.